Today we are going to make some egg foo young. Yes, egg foo young. Now, egg foo young is nothing more than a Chinese style omelet. And we're going to put it over rice, and we're going to put a sauce over the top of it. It starts out with rice. Now this is the kind of rice we use. It's good Calrose, medium grain. Works very good. That old Uncle Ben's and Success rice and Minute rice and all that other stuff, forget it. This is the way to go. We put a cup of rice in a rice cooker. Then we put a cup and a half of water. I've got a cup of water in. Here's the other half. I've got the rice cooker plugged in. Put the lid on it. Hit the button. And set it and forget it. The next part of this operation is getting the meat ready and sauteed, which will be, ultimately added to the eggs to make the omelet. There's some other things to be added also, but we're going to be adding. We're going to take the meat. I took a regular old, pork chops, center cut pork chops, and I cut off all the meat that I could get, and left the fat. This thing should not have much fat. I'm going to cut this down into smaller chunks. We're also going to add a little chicken, and we're going to put it in the bowl. Then we're going to add 3 tablespoons of soy sauce. And it's the kind you want. We use the Kikkoman. It's pretty good stuff. And then I'm going to put a teaspoon of toasted sesame oil. Sesame oil. Some of you never heard of sesame oil. And then there's going to be 3 tablespoons of cooking wine. Now it's supposed to be Chinese cooking wine, but here in Arkansas it's kind of hard to get Chinese cooking wine. I'm sure it's available in a town a few miles from here, but I didn't want to drive all the way over there just to get that. Then I'm going to add a little bit of maybe a teaspoon of oyster sauce, just to give it a little bit of flavor. And then I'm going to go ahead and put some cornstarch in it. We're going to mix it all around in here, and then we're going to let it marinate for about 20 minutes. All right, the pork has been cut, and I'm now adding chopped up chicken. I'm going to have about maybe a little more pork than chicken. I don't know. I haven't quite figured that out yet. I'll chop a little more and see what happens. In goes the soy sauce. I've already got 2 tablespoons. This makes the 3rd one. Now let's get the rest of the stuff in. I've added the 3 tablespoons of wine, cooking wine. Now I'm going to add that was 3 tablespoons of cooking wine. Now 1 teaspoon of toasted sesame oil. Now I'm just going to put maybe a teaspoonful of the oyster flavor sauce too. Or oyster flavored sauce. Yeah. That's optional. Remember, this is an omelet. You make this omelet any way you want, but you might not, you want to put in a little bit of soy sauce and stuff to kind of turn it into egg foo young type of stuff. The last thing to add to the meat mixture is 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. Then we're going to stir it all around, and we're going to let it set for 20 minutes in the refrigerator covered. Just let it sit there and marinate. 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. Alright, let's go ahead and mix that all around. I guess it's going to take 2 hands. This is kind of thick and heavy, but we're going to give it a good stir, mix it all around, then let it sit. Over here we have our rice still cooking away. Once you hit the old button, you don't have to do anything from then on. Before I went to Japan, you couldn't get rice down my throat. I hated it. It just tasted so bad. But then I got over there and I tasted what rice is supposed to be like. And I was like, oh, man, it was like night and day. So from that day on, we use a rice cooker and the kind of rice I showed you previously. It is great. And when the light goes out, it'll be ready to go. The next thing we need is we've done the marinade on the meat. Now comes the batter that everything, the meat and everything gets mixed into. So let's go ahead and it calls for a cup of bean sprouts. That's about a cup right there. And what I'm going to do is give them a good washing in the sink. And make sure they're nice and clean. Now comes a cup of chopped mushrooms. If you don't like mushrooms, don't put them in there. If you don't like bean sprouts, don't put them in there. Use bell peppers or something. It's up to you. I used these Monterey deliciously healthy whole, if I can get this thing to focus, there we go, whole mushrooms. They were washed and chopped. And if you can cut them any size you want if you decide to go with these. Alright, next we have to chop an onion and get it in there. The last thing to get mixed in with all of our bean sprouts and onions and everything is a tablespoon of soy sauce, a tablespoon of garlic, and then I'll shake some pepper in it. I think I better transfer all this from the small bowl to the big bowl, because I'm going to need this bowl here to make a sauce that goes over everything. Once everything's ready and on the plate, you put this really neat sauce over the top of it all. And when I add the meat to this and everything, it's going to be too full, so let's just do the big bowl here. Now the sauce or gravy, if whatever you want to call it, calls for 4 cups of chicken broth, but I don't have that many people eating here, so I don't think I'll have to go with 4 cups. I'll probably go with about 2.5 to 3. Then you're supposed to add 2 tablespoons of soy sauce, 2 tablespoons of cornstarch, and a half a cup of water. But you start out with just the broth and the soy sauce mixed together, and then you bring it to a boil. So we'll have to do that first. Well, that's it, folks. That's everything. We've got the 2 tablespoons of cornstarch mixed in with the water, and we will go ahead and stir this and get it all mixed up. And as soon as the soy sauce and chicken broth come to a boil, we're going to slowly add it and then take it off the heat and stir it until it thickens up. And that will be the sauce or the gravy that goes over the top of the egg foo young omelet. Everything has been brought to a boil, so then I removed it from the heat. This is the gravy, the sauce, and then I'm going to go ahead and just stir it until it gets thick. Not real thick, but more kind of like a gravy, as long as I put enough cornstarch in it. I may have to add a little more cornstarch and water, I don't know. I've been stirring for a while, and it's getting a little thicker, but not really like it should. All of the vegetables, the bean sprouts, the onions, and all that jazz has been put in there. The meat's been added, and I put a dozen eggs in. Now we have to mix all that up, and the best way to do it is to wash your hands nice and clean and just get in there and just start smushing it around until it's one big liquid with all that stuff all broken up and floating around. You'll see. This is the fun part. Well, as luck would have it, old man Murphy struck. I should have stir-fried my pork before I put it in with the eggs, but no problem. I took it back out. We're just going to go ahead and stir-fry it here. Then we'll add it back to the bowl and smush it up again. We don't worry about such things. We just, adapt, overcome. God, that stuff smells good. That soy sauce in there, I'll cook it a little bit. We have a few, bean sprouts that came out with it, a couple of onions, but no big deal. We'll just go ahead and, going to have to cook it anyway. Might as well do a little pre-cook here. Everything is mixed back together finally, and what we're going to do is take maybe about that much. We're going to put them in the old frying pan over here where I put some olive oil, and we're just going to fry them one at a time. Hopefully it'll turn out as expected. Kind of go in there nice and easy like. I might not have put some enough eggs in there. We may have to add a few more eggs. We'll see. Alright, 2 of them have been flipped. You cook them until they're kind of crisp-like. You just flip them over like that. Boy, I'll tell you what, they sure smell good. Now, I don't know if they're going to taste good. They look okay. We've got a second frying pan going with 3 more over there. We'll see how this works out. The rice is all done. And there she is, real hot, ready to go. We'll take the whole pot over to the table. Ethan likes it. He says it tastes like egg and rice. My daughter, of course, she does not like it. She doesn't eat anything at all. I don't care. You're the weirdo. No, and then Scott, what do you think, Scott? Was it worth eating? Did it have a good taste to it, really?
Yeah.
I see you finishing it up. I haven't got mine yet. What do you think, honey?
Eats everything. It's good. Put plenty of soy sauce on it.
Put plenty of soy sauce. Yeah, drown it in soy sauce so you don't have to taste it. Man, I got to tell you, with that soy sauce on there and the rest of those things we put in there, is the sesame oil and all that jazz. Boy, this tastes really good. Got the rice on the bottom, the egg omelet on top, and then this sauce. I took some of this sauce, just spooned it out, Spooned it all over the top as much as I wanted. I didn't put too much on it first because I didn't know how it was going to taste. Tastes pretty good. Then I went ahead and added a little bit of soy sauce wherever I wanted. Boy, that's good. What do you think, baby?
Very, very good.
Very, very good. She liked it. Well, you ate all yours up.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, as usual, I'm the last to eat.
That's the way it is when you cook.
Uh-huh. Probably the best thing about this meal right here is, there was quite a bit left over this time. And as far as the omelet goes, the rice is all gone, as you can see. It disappeared in a hurry. But anyway, you can stick this in the refrigerator and later on, whip up another batch of rice, warm up these omelets, put it on there, put your sauce on, if you keep some of that in the refrigerator, and you're right back at it. You're just right back at the good stuff again. Anyway, I hope you liked what you saw. Until next time, this is John.